Hello, my name is Landon Coroi, and welcome to my first year writing portfolio. A little bit about me is I am a music performance major here at App State with a concentration in oboe, which is the instrument that you see in this picture. I'm originally from Mooresville, North Carolina, and I plan to pursue a master's degree in oboe performance after my time here. So because I play the oboe every single day, I chose to do my perspective and talk about the practice that we were told to on playing the oboe. I initially wanted to steer away from this because I felt like the oboe flooded into so many aspects of my life already. And I didn't want that to be, a big thing that I talked about because I didn't want to tire, playing and talking about the oboe. However, I ended up choosing to talk about the oboe because I figured that either way I'd learn more about my instrument, which is always a good thing. So, within our research paper, we were asked to talk about a controversy within our community of our practice. I chose to talk about the European versus the American schools of oboe playing. Excuse me. I went over all kinds of different aspects, such as tone, blend, stylistic qualities, our reeds, which is this little tool pictured here, which is what I use to produce the sound. Europeans and Americans make them very differently, which is very interesting. But overall, my point of this paper was to talk about how not only are these topics different, but they're blending together as modern communication allows for a greater influx of ideas. So we're moving away from, say, 30 or 40 years ago where these different schools were completely different and we didn't really get along or agree on what to do with the oboe, even though we were playing the exact same instrument. So with my podcast, I chose to work with a friend, Will Hoffman, who is a vocalist. Our podcast focused on the musical performance culture as a whole. We really focused on these reality talent shows which feature both instrumentalist and vocalist, along with tons of other different talented people. But we raised the question on how morally just was it that these reality shows really push to talk about their contestants' backstories rather than talking about their pure talent or promoting their pure talent. So we were really able to do a lot with this podcast. We were able to talk a lot, that's for sure. We had 32 minutes of audio, but only 16 minutes to use. So we really had to cut and select what we wanted to do to make sure that we were within that time constraint and we're making sure that our points were all getting across and that we were producing a good production for our audience. So some critiques that we got were that I didn't speak a lot. Will can speak a lot more on vocalist more than I can. I had to generalize my topic to talk about being an instrumentalist rather than an oboist because of this, and because of time constraints I had to cut mine down. So a few of my friends as instrumentalists, they wanted to hear more about me being an oboist and talking about that experience as a instrumentalist. But we talked about talent shows which typically focus on vocalists more. So due to that, we had to talk a little bit more about Will's topic. But it ended up getting our point across, and we ended up producing something that was well-rounded, which was good. So overall in this class, I had a very different perception at the beginning than I did at the end. I perceived that I would have this professor stand in front of me for 3 hours a week, and I hate it, and I just hear them talk, and it wouldn't be any fun. But Professor Custer really made this class super enjoyable, and it was very refreshing to see how dedicated and creative she was with teaching this course. And in my initial reflection, I wrote to her that I really liked connecting personally to my writing. And with this topic of writing about our practice, I was really able to do that. Another thing that I talked about was I wasn't always able to transfer my thesis to the rest of my paper. And that's something that I didn't do well in high school. And as I moved to college, it's something that I wanted to do. And within this paper, I really feel like I was able to talk about what I wanted to get to in every single paragraph and kind of tie it all together, which was great. Another thing that maybe is a critique on myself is that I don't think I stepped out of my comfort zone enough. I definitely did in many ways by going to the writing center, which is something that I normally don't do because I'm a very independent person. But one thing that I didn't do is I wasn't as collaborative and wasn't as active as a participant in the class as I wanted to. And this really reflected in my participation grade because I really feel like if I would have spoke out when I had my ideas, which I of course did, I could have gotten an A instead of a B in my participation grades. But with me being a very observant person, I wasn't always, willing to do that. Another thing that I was able to do was I was able to be incredibly creative within this class. Professor Custer really pushed, different ideas and making sure that, we were looking at it from this perspective, which was always fun. Somebody would always have an idea and she'd be like, ooh, go down that avenue and do this with it, which was always super fun. She always had great ideas. And I was really able to introduce the ideas and suggestions of my peers because she produced a class that was so collaborative, which was great. I was also able to go down so many different avenues with my paper and just this class as a whole. I never was expecting to do a podcast, so that was a lot of fun and something that was very new to me. And I was able to use audio within my paper, which with a paper about music is so great. And although we expect, our classes to be digitalized, Professor Custer really took it a step further and made sure that we were really always engaged and made sure that we were very creative, which is always nice. And so that is all that I have today. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Professor Custer, for a wonderful semester, and I wish you all the best.